My name is Paul Holland, and I am the owner of the consulting company called Testing Thoughts. This is going to be my talk on better bug reports. So a bad bug report involves time that gets wasted trying to investigate things, asking and answering questions. Bug reports go back and forth. The developer says, I need this information, the tester answers that, and then the developer needs more information. So it just wastes a lot of time. Also, if you're writing bad bug reports, you're probably lowering the image of yourself and the entire testing team. If you were to write a good bug report, it should be written as if it's being written for someone who's new to the team, or as my friend Hillary Weaver-Robb from Detroit said a few years ago at a CAST conference, I write my bug reports as if they were going to be read by a mind-wiped version of myself. So you want to make sure that there's enough detail in it that somebody who's new to the team can understand it, because you're not always going to get the most experienced people fixing your bugs, or you may end up in a situation where your developers honestly don't know how to use your product. The bug report titles, you want to keep them short. 100 characters is a good ballpark, but it's not a drop dead. I just wanted to put a value in there, but it depends on how your summary slide looks. You don't want it to be so long that it's always getting truncated. Please list what happened first, then what caused it to happen. And also try not to use personal pronouns. So you'll see in my example of a good title, system crashes when sorting lists with over 500 items. The system crashes, first two words, boom, system crashes, I'm concerned when I'm sorting the list. If I was to do it in the opposite order and add personal pronouns and everything, bad. When I am sorting a list that contains over 500 items, both of these are 56 characters long. The bottom one doesn't even get to the point that it says the system crashed because it's at the end. And even if it was displayed, it's way down to the right, and I'm bored already reading it at this point. I haven't had my interest spiked. So the product owner, especially if it's truncated and you can't see it, may dismiss the severity of that bug. So I've come up with a mnemonic on the body part of a bug report, and the mnemonic is people working, which stands for problem, example, Oracle, platform, literate, extrapolate, and workaround. We'll go over all of those individually. So the problem, what happened? Describe it, the problem. Don't ramble on, but make sure you include all of the important details. And in the problem description, you want to list what caused it to happen, kind of like you did in the title. You don't get into the details, that's an example. Also mention if it's an intermittent bug, and please still raise bugs if they're intermittent, because you might put in details and then somebody else might see the bug in a couple of weeks and they search for it, find your bug report, and they can add their comments to it, and hopefully after enough people have raised their bug report, raised their comments, the developer would be able to figure out what's going on. Example, recreation steps like you're new to the team. You want to describe in detail the recreation steps. It's helpful if you can reduce those number of steps down to a smaller number than you may have had as your original list. And also note that many developers are not able to use the product like your customers do. They know how the product works on the inside and they can work on it there, but I have worked with many developers who have no idea how to navigate through a complicated user interface. They know how the APIs work, they know how their back-end part works, but they have no idea how the front end works. So you can describe how to navigate to each page. You can use a short form like the arrow here, a dash, and a greater than sign. So you can say select file, and then go to open ... and then select the attached file to this bug report, or the file attached to this bug report. That would be probably enough detail instead of just saying open the attached file. The Oracle. So if you have a bug and it's not obvious, then you should probably be describing why you think it's a bug. Like this bug right here. The word Oracle showed up as the top line after the second line. That was unintentional, but I feel it's a bug because it's inconsistent with how the other slides have been working so far. which is there. That's me using the consistency heuristic, a few hiccups, which Michael Bolton has written some articles on, so I'm not going to go over the details. The next slide lists what a few hiccups stands for, but it's not going to be gone into in detail here. You can also provide a little Timmy story, which is a story that sort of describes plausible scenarios and the result, what might happen to your customers. So if your customers encountered this bug, they may become confused and accidentally delete their work. That's a little Timmy story. I call it a little Timmy story based on Lassie, where Timmy was the owner of Lassie, and he would often get into trouble, and Lassie would run home and bark, and they would understand that Timmy was in trouble and follow Lassie. So here is a few hiccups. If it's consistent with something that's previously been deemed unacceptable or a familiar problem, or if it's inconsistent with your ability to explain it, the way the world works, the previous versions, the image of your company, a comparable product, claims being made by important people, the desires of your users, the product itself, the purpose, explicit or implicit purpose, or statutes and standards. So again, you can Google Michael Bolton to get more, and a few hiccups to get more details on that. The second P in people working is for the platform. Describe the details about the environment that you were testing, hardware and software, any libraries, versions of tools. An older version of Postman might behave differently, as an example. When you're being, make sure for the whole thing that you're being literate. You want to tell a story and have proper spelling and grammar. Also, be polite. It's probably worthwhile to, especially if you're not good at spelling or good at grammar, to write up your description in Word or Google Docs or use Grammarly so that you can fix your spelling and grammar mistakes and then cut and paste that into your bug report, because that would prevent a poor image of you and your team. Extrapolate. Just because you've seen the bug in one area doesn't mean it doesn't exist elsewhere. So see if you find one text box that doesn't have an input constraint, check other text boxes. Also, you might see a small error in your part, like a calculation that's off by the 6th decimal place, but that might cause the downstream systems or third-party users who use that calculation to be wildly off in their calculation. So just be aware that the bug you're seeing might actually be bigger than you think. And finally, a workaround. If you have a viable workaround, one that's not difficult or really hard to follow, then include it in the bug report, because it might mean that bug doesn't need to be fixed for this release, and you're not going to delay your release for something that actually has a pretty simple workaround. And that is my talk on how to write better bug reports. I hope you enjoyed it, and I wish you a good day.